Hello and welcome back to Fort Wayne on the Move with me, Councilwoman Michelle Chambers. If you've been following my show since we've started, you know that I'm a lover of the arts. So today I am very excited to be on the campus of Arts United, and we have with us today Dan and Miriam. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And I was practicing that. So I'm so excited that you all answered the call and said yes. Miriam, I have to give you a little background, and then I'm going to have you all introduce yourselves individually. As a lover of the arts, I have been working with Dan for 2 years to make sure that we keep everything funded. I know we'll talk about the capital campaign, but my philosophy in life is this. I believe that the arts should be here even once I'm gone, just like the ruins in Europe and Greece and everywhere else. So that's why I'm so passionate. And I know that the arts for our children, if they are exposed at a young age, they carry it along into adulthood, as I have done, and become a lover of the arts. So I'm going to start with, so I hear you're the COO?
Correct.
Tell us what that means. How long have you been with Arts United?
Sure.
And why did you choose to say yes to the Arts United?
So I'm of course Miriam Morgan, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Vice President of Operations here. I've been in that role for 8.5 or so years, but I've been with Arts United 19.5 years. My background
Child labor, having 19 years, you're too young. Okay.
My background is in entertainment production, design and technology,
Really?
So a lighting designer by trade. So that's my form of art. And so I started with Arts United as the technical director for the Arts United Center, back when Arts United owned one theater. We are now in the lobby of another theater, of course. So I've been with the organization for quite a while, and this is the world that I love and enjoy. Like you, I believe that the arts should always exist, and there are many ways that we can support that, and my career path has allowed me to do that. So
that is amazing. We don't often hear, I won't tell you how old I am, but I come from a generation, you literally could have your career with one organization. What was your very first job with Arts United? Do you recall?
It was the technical director for the venue. So I do all of the things backstage. I don't like to be necessarily in front. I'm not a performer. I never have been a performer.
Right.
But I love being able to help productions come to life and events come to life. And there's a lot of technology and design work that goes into the backside of things that people don't usually see. And so I get to help that come to fruition in a way that people may not always realize, but allows them to have an experience that they might not otherwise have. I started in this industry back when I was a senior in high school. I had an internship at the Honeywell Center back then, and realized that this was the career field for me. They had given me the opportunity to operate the lights for a rock concert, and when I turned on the audience blinders at the end of the song, and 1,500 people got really excited and screamed, I knew that this was the career for me, that I was able to make people feel excited. So that's how I got into it.
That is a wonderful story. Quickly, if there's a young person that's watching, what did you study in college? What did you study?
Yeah, so entertainment technology, there's a variety of ways to get into that particular field. You can go into university, into a theater track or an entertainment track. But because the industry has advanced and it intersects with all kinds of computer technology, there's a lot of that as well. So there's a variety of ways to either intern and apprentice underneath people, or you can go into a collegiate track. And so there's a variety of ways, and I would encourage any young person who's looking into getting into this field, which spans not only the creative sector but the technology sector, the manufacturing sector, to reach out to people who kind of work in this field and ask their particular path to determine what works best for them. There's so many options.
Wow, I love your story. It's very inspiring. Before I go here to Dan and your fearless leader, I want to share with you that we had the opportunity, I work with Fort Wayne Community Schools at AmpLab, and one of our students from AmpLab had the opportunity to intern, and he worked on the tree.
Oh, I love it.
With the color purple.
Oh, I love it.
And when I tell you that young man's world, we knew that he was a great craftsman. He worked well with wood. I mean, it was game changing for him, and he got a lot of compliments and kudos for the final production of that tree. That was in the color
that's
purple.
awesome. I love those stories.
Yeah, so interning, I'm so happy you all said yes to that opportunity, and I hope we continue to foster that relationship. So Dan, how are you?
Fantastic. It is so nice to see you. Thanks for letting us join you today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please tell our viewing audience about you. How long have you been with Arts United? What's your background? And
Sure.
you know, you are just a wonderful
Sure.
representation of said Arts United. And
Well,
these
thank
last
you.
few years, you've all had to raise money.
We
But
have
we'll
had-
start with how you got here, and then we'll get to that capital campaign.
we have had good work to do, but we have so many great people working on this team, both on our staff and on our board. It's just a joy to be here. I currently serve as the president and CEO of Arts United, and I feel honored to serve in that role. I've been here at Arts United for 15 years, a little between 15 and 16 years. For quite a while, I was our Vice President of Community Development, moved into the CEO role about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, I worked for the Fort Wayne Philharmonic on the administrative side for about 20 years. I was on the administrative staff at the Philharmonic, and there I was general manager. I was an interim chief executive for a year. So I did a variety of roles there. But I started out by playing trumpet in the Fort Wayne Philharmonic. So that's what
So
brought
you're a
me to
real
Fort
artist.
Wayne. Well, that's what brought me here. And I played in the Philharmonic for 40 years and just absolutely loved it. I continued to do that job while I was doing the administrative work that I did up until I became CEO here. And at that point, I decided, I think it's time to just do one job. And most of my career, I did multiple jobs, teaching at universities and doing recording sessions. And this is what you do when you're a musician. You do the work that you can find. And I loved that. But right now, I love being able to focus on the work that Arts United is doing and working with this great team.
So we are sitting in the Arts Lab, and I'm going to just lob this out to either one of you. Many people that are viewing right now, they don't realize that this is actually a campus. And there's buildings and things of that nature. Which one of you want to take the question of what does this campus consist of? We are in this beautiful lobby of the Arts Lab, right?
Yes.
So please tell them about the blueprint.
Do you want to start this?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the Arts Lab is our flexible style experimental theater. So it can be arranged in a variety of seating configurations, audience in the round or a thrust or kind of like a stadium arrangement, a variety of different ways. It's a very small and intimate theater. So it allows audiences to really experience the up-close emotion of the actors or the performers on stage. We've done a variety of experimental things in this particular theater, including years ago, the ballet had a pair of dancers who also did aerial hoop and aerial silks.
Really?
So we put those in the space. The audience has gotten to experience those up close. This is where the youth theater premiered some of their Young Heroes of Consciousness series here, and so the story of Ryan White was done on the stage here. And so it's used year-round by a variety of our resident performing companies, including All for One Productions, Fire and Light Productions, the Civic Theater is going to be using it for their upcoming performance of Misery, for example. So a variety of things happen in this space year-round. It is attached to the Our Center for Arts and Culture, which is the building that houses the Fort Wayne Ballet, ArtLink, Fort Wayne Trails, Fame, our administrative offices, and serves as one of the hubs here on the campus, in addition to the other two facilities that we have, the Hall Community Arts Center, where Cinema Center and Dance Collective have their home, and the Arts United Center Performing Arts venue that we will talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, so this campus for the arts is something that really differentiates Fort Wayne. And this is one of the things that we're really proud of. And I know we're going to talk a lot about the Arts United Center, which is kind of the heart of the arts campus. That was the first building that was developed when this community had this bold idea to create a campus for the arts on Main Street, which this community envisioned around 1960 that we're going to do this. Really? And the interesting thing to us is that's the same time that Lincoln Center was just being constructed in New York City.
Really? Really?
And our community leaders in Fort Wayne looked at that and said, we can do that in Fort Wayne, which just to me was such a bold vision that our community leaders had in 1960 to do this. What they originally envisioned was a full campus, engaged this architect Louis Kahn, one of the greatest architects of the second half of the 20th century, to design this campus. The project was a little too ambitious for the community at the time. And so the project got scaled back a little bit to include the initial building, the Arch United Center. But over the next 50 years, as a community, we have followed through on that vision. And we added the Museum of Art in 1984 and the Hall Community Arts Center in 1990 and the History Center. And then this building, Arch United acquired this building in 2009, 2010, renovated it in 2011, added this black box theater in 2014. So over these last 50 years, we have built on this concept of creating a campus for the arts. And this is something that truly is a differentiator for our community and something we're really proud of.
Oh man, that is amazing. The intentionality of the growth,
Yes.
the diversification of the buildings and the type of programming that can take place. So let's talk about growth, right? What we know is, my experience has been, as I'm sitting here looking at the American Electric Power Foundation lobby, it takes a public-private partnership with the community to keep the doors open. Let's talk about this capital campaign. Did you all start this during COVID or right out of COVID? Remind me.
We started this almost 10 years ago. And so the amount of work that has gone into this project has been just tremendous. The number of volunteers who have supported this and the work of our staff. But we started this project in about 2015. We started doing the research for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in 2016 we engaged the architect. In 2017 we did a fundraising feasibility study.
Right.
And then we started fundraising in 2018. And so we got to work on that for a couple of years, and then the pandemic happened.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. I knew there was a connection.
Yes.
Yes.
And so for us, we had started this capital campaign, but we realized with the pandemic, Arts United needed to focus on keeping arts and culture in this community afloat. And so we shifted our priorities and raised $3 million for a resilience fund that was a fantastic lifeline to 18 key arts and culture organizations in this community. So we spent about 18 months focused on that. Then we restarted the campaign in earnest in about 2022.
Okay.
And that's when, boy, your help was just tremendous. The support of the mayor, the support of city council, the commissioners, to the point that you were making, Councilwoman, about a public-private partnership. Boy, we could not have done it without that. This ended up being a project. We ended up setting a goal of $40 million that we announced in October of 2023. Project actually ended up costing a little more. So we were thrilled that thanks to the support of the community, we were actually able to raise $41.5 million, which is just fantastic support from this community, both public sector and private sector. And for us, it was about 50-50 as it turned out. So we ended up, the city council supported us, the city of Fort Wayne with $3 million, the county with $3 million, the capital improvement board with $3 million, $6 million from the state READY program, and then we ended up netting about $5.5 million in federal tax credits, utilizing both new market tax credits and historic tax credits. Yes. And so on top of that, then we raised about $21 million from the private sector, which I just think is fantastic support that the private sector in this community raised that level of funding. Just indicating the value that arts and culture provides for this community.
I could not have said it better. It's very impressive in that we all know that giving in the arts has been down, but our community really has shown how important the arts are for us. I remember you and I having a conversation because at one time Lincoln was a very instrumental in funding and everything, and then when Lincoln went away, it's reflective of the leadership that you've had over the decades and your board members. You lose that commitment from such a large entity, but the doors didn't close.
Right.
You've been able to expand. And
Yes.
what I would love for my viewing audience as we talk about programming, that you all are intentional in the pricing of the tickets. You haven't priced everyday people out of being able to take full advantage of
Yes.
the campuses. Let's talk about the programming that takes place here.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to
Sure.
jump into some of that? Yeah.
Sure. So, so we have a variety of ways that we utilize the spaces here on campus. There are classes, workshops, things
What
that
type of
people can get.
classes?
Theater classes. There are some. Occasionally, there are training classes on entertainment technology design, things like
Yes.
that we've done. They can attend performances of different sizes and different types. You know, we have resident companies that perform full seasons here on the campus in our venues, including the Fort Wayne Civic Theater, the longtime resident company at the Arts United Center, of course, Fort Wayne Ballet, which is Indiana's oldest professional ballet company.
Didn't know that nugget. Didn't know that.
The youth theater does classes and camps here as well. Fort Wayne Dance Collective. And some of the ArtLink,
yeah.
yep. So there's a variety of ways to experience art here. ArtLink offers art classes, so if you want to learn drawing and figure drawing, those kinds of things here. So there's a variety of ways that people can engage with the arts at different levels, price points, and be met where they are.
Yes.
One of the interesting things about the resident companies that perform on our stages is many of them use backstage volunteers to construct the sets, to build the costumes, to operate the shows. So if you have an interest in running a light board or running an audio console or any number of other things, you can do that. You can help push scenic wagons on stage, or you can even volunteer and perform on stage. So there's a variety of ways to engage, not just as an audience member or participant in a class, but in a variety of ways with a number of different organizations here.
And I appreciate your point about keeping that price point so that it's affordable. And that's one of the things, one of the important roles that Arts United plays in this community is providing these spaces for these arts and cultural organizations at a very subsidized rate. And we're able to do that because of the support that we receive from the public sector as well as from private donations that enable organizations like the Fort Wayne Ballet and the Fort Wayne Civic Theater to be able to utilize these spaces at a price they can afford.
Yes.
You know, this is prime downtown real estate, right? And it would be very difficult for a not-for-profit arts organization to be able to afford to have their offices and their rehearsal spaces in this location if it weren't for the subsidized support that they're able to receive. And I just feel like there's such a benefit for the community to have these creative activities happening here on Main Street.
It's overwhelming sometimes because it's the intentionality of the community
Yes.
to underwrite and support these efforts. As we've been talking about the capital campaign, all the money that you raise, I've had the opportunity to go behind the curtain. And the level of production that takes place on that stage, or probably any stage, but I have to speak specifically. Nobody that's watching this understands why I'm going like this. It's across the street. And I understand why you had to take on such a heavy endeavor for the capital campaign. The fact that you were still back there pulling things and lifting things, and you
Right.
look up, there's people. Nobody in the audience had no idea.
Right.
No idea of the production that goes behind the scene
Yes.
to make sure that everything rolls out smoothly. So that speaks
Yep.
to the people who volunteer, the people that work here. And you all have, no one knew. No one knew unless you had the opportunity to go behind the curtain. I've been down in the basement where all the costuming and everything. So I talk about that because I want you all to share what's happening with this whole renovation. Let's talk about the money you raised and what's it going to look like. It's a historic building. Let's talk about what that means.
Yeah, well, there has been a tremendous amount of change. And Miriam, I'm going to let Miriam talk about most of this because Miriam's been our lead person on this project and she's just amazing. But what I will tell you is that, you know, when we started this 10 years ago, we recognized that the main things that we needed to address were accessibility. You know, it's an architectural masterpiece, but it opened in 1973, pre-ADA, and it just was not accessible. And we feel that arts experiences should be accessible to all people in this community.
Agreed.
And that's our goal.
Yes.
And so that was a huge issue. But also, just theater technology has changed dramatically since 1973. And so we knew that we wanted to increase the functionality of the space. And we're just thrilled with the team that we've been working with, Hagerman Construction, MKM Architecture and Design, the team from DLR, our theater technology group. We've just had great people that we've been working with, but also all the community partners, and then especially Arts United staff. I just want to give a huge shout out to Miriam and the team here at Arts United for the fantastic work that they've done. But Miriam, I'm going to let you talk about some of the specific things. There's so many things to talk about.
I mean, you've literally had to move and store things, and I don't want to steal your thunder.
No,
Please
you're
share.
fine. So as Dan was mentioning, theater technology has really evolved. It keeps up with the pace of technology in your cell phone. So there's that challenge. The building infrastructure was the age of the building, so about 50 years old. So that meant that there were a lot of things that you couldn't even connect into the building that you would want to now. And so it really required a very comprehensive review to make sure that we were addressing everything and ensuring that we were future-proofing the infrastructure as much as possible, because technology changes and you want to be able to plug in that new thing. And so so we wanted to make sure that we were doing that. But we started all the way back with master planning and the why and what this building means to the community. This building, as someone once said, which I continue to repeat, is a community center disguised as a theater. Yeah, I have taken people through this building. I've taken people through this building who have told me that this is where they have made all of their friends when they've moved to the community. And so we want to make sure that that opportunity is available not only for the people who are currently using the building, but the people who perhaps have been hindered by the fact that the building was built before the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so we intentionally looked at this entire project as holistically as possible through a universal design lens. So beyond accessibility, but asking how can we make this as broadly accessible as possible. And that means not just for patrons that might have a mobility device, but a variety of other ways as well. Master planning, including conversations with the Northeast Indiana Disability Advocacy Coalition and some of our other accessibility friends to ask what the needs and the barriers are. So we were making sure we were addressing everything as much as we possibly could. Then we questioned ourselves on if the space is physically accessible, but the equipment in it is not accessible, how can we make sure that it is? And so knowing that there are volunteers who might enjoy sitting in the audience and watching, but maybe they want to get their hands dirty and they want to work backstage a little bit or do some other things. We asked the question about how can we make the equipment and all of the things that happen backstage accessible. As you experienced in The Color Purple, there are 5 or 6 people backstage for every one actor on stage at least, if not more. There's far more that work on building the production before it even makes it to that point. And so we want to make sure that we're also addressing the needs for those individuals as well. So now there will be a fully automated fly system. So all of the backdrops and curtains are now all motorized on variable speed drives, programmable, that can be controlled from a computerized desk unit that someone in a seated position or standing position can operate, and the desk is wheelchair accessible. So depending on what their use and their needs are, anybody can operate it there. The stage management position, the front of house audio mix position, the lighting control position, the follow spots position, and the video recording positions are also all accessible, which we're really excited about. The capabilities, the technology capabilities in this building have new integration. You can send audio and video feeds to anywhere in the building that you need. You can put on an opera, you can put on a ballet, you can put on a theatrical performance. The building will now finally have a professional concert-grade orchestra shell. Which was something that was in the original construction plan back 50 years ago, but was VE'd out of the project. And the technology to be able to do any kind of lighting, any kind of audio, the color wash the lobby walls, to be able to do a soundscape throughout the lobby, to be able to do more immersive performances for the audience so they can be encompassed with all of that. And then we're adding all of that technology as well to the studio spaces upstairs that were primarily used as rehearsal spaces, but now they can be used as small performance spaces, they can be used as reception spaces. They will have access to their own restrooms on that level as well. So we have multiple individual restrooms. We have a restroom that has an adult-sized changing table, for example. So amenities throughout the building to be able to provide access for everyone.
You all thought about everything. I mean, everything. This probably will take us 100 years versus 50. And I guess what everybody has to understand, you really can't do much with the exterior, correct, because of the historic designation? Or?
Yes, well, and interestingly, so all of this work that's been done, we've also included, there are basically 3 expansions to the space. So we've expanded to the west, a new lobby on that side, which has enabled us to incorporate a lot of the accessibility features that Miriam was talking about, and really excited about what that west expansion is going to do just as an intersection point for being able to provide access throughout the building. There's a new elevator, passenger elevator on that west expansion, a new entrance that provides access into the auditorium, an accessible drop-off area, but also it intersects with Fryman Square in a different sort of way.
Yes.
Which is something we are really excited about. And that west expansion is going to be, because of the historical qualities of the building that you were just mentioning, right? When you do an expansion, the National Park Service wants to make sure that it contrasts in style to the existing building. So the existing building is big and brick, right?
Yes.
You know, very solid, monumental, right? The expansions will be metal and glass. And so it'll be a very different look and feel, very much in kind with other work that Louis Kahn has done, other works that he has done, but very much contrasting to what our building is. So you can see the difference. But that puts windows out into the park in a different sort of way, which we are going to love that. And so that expansion on the west, then there's an expansion to the east, which gives us room for the Civic Theater, and then an expansion to the north, which enables us to have new loading dock access. So there's just a tremendous amount of work that's gone into this. And we're thrilled to talk about it. As you could tell, Miriam and I could talk about this building all day, but we know that there's a time limit on your show.
There'll be a part 2. We're doing the ribbon cutting. To look at
yes, come to the ribbon cutting.
So I'll close with this. Thank you for your commitment to making sure that the arts remain in Fort Wayne. I am so happy that we have wonderful people like yourselves who are fully committed to keeping the doors open, raising the money, and being intentional with the expansion.
Thank you for your help and support.
Absolutely. So that concludes our show for today. Remember, support the Arts Campus, find out what's going on, come down with your family, come down by yourself, and stay tuned for the grand opening. Thank you.